Okay, now the techniques that I showed you in video number 2, I'm going to do it on a larger scale, just so you get an idea of what it looks like. We'll also talk a little bit about color theory here. Now I'm going to put down I'm going to wet this for a wet-on-wet background. And the circle is going to be my positive shape. And I'm going to begin by using the using wet-on-wet method to create the negative space, or begin to create the negative space. So I'm going to go in here with we're going to go in here with blue, and this is just a primary blue. Okay, it's not a it hasn't been adjusted from the tube. A little bit more. Okay, so I want the background to appear as if it's traveling to the other side, or behind, rather, the positive element here. Now I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to add some more water strategically. I do have this taped down. Wet-on-wet techniques tend to really draw up the paper. Now I'm going to go back in with a sponge and I'm going to blot out some of this. Just here and there. I'm not going to worry too much about this here because I'm going to be using a more drier brush back here. Okay, and also I'm going to create a sense of directional light. So I'm going to make this a little lighter over here. Like that. And then I'm going to darken up this area a little bit more. Higher saturation. Then I'm going to just play a little bit with I'm just going to hit this a little bit with my stenciling brush. Right there. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'm also going to add a little bit of purple to my blue. So I'm going to put a little bit of purple up here. Not a lot. Just a little bit here and there. Just peeking out a little bit. I'm going to let that sit for a minute without playing with it. Okay. Next, I'm going to go in with a paper towel. I'm going to dry up this. Now, I don't want to dry it all the way up to my edge. Okay? Or I don't want to clean it up all the way to my edge. Because I don't want to make it look like the background and the foreground, or the background and the positive elements they're butting up against each other. Like I said, I want the background to have the appearance that it is, or the negative space that is flowing behind my positive element. So next, I'm going to use I have an orange here, which I made up. One thing I also like to do is I'm going to add I'm going to add a little yellow to this, and I'm not going to mix it up right here on the, mix it up to a consistent color. I'm going to actually lay it down like this, okay? And I'm going to just, now this is, I would normally wait. This is a dry on wet application here. And obviously it's fairly one thing nice about watercolor, and you're going to see also when we talk about acrylics, is you can go in before it dries, even after it dries, you can make adjustments. So I'm going to get a tighter brush here. This is where I really like filberts. So I'm going to take my filbert, go along this edge. And like I said, normally I would wait before I do this edge, so the background dries out a little bit. But it's really up to you, and it depends on what you want to achieve with your color. Okay. One thing about watercolor, you got to be careful that it doesn't get muddy on you. All right. Now I'm going to go back in, and because the light is coming from the right-hand side, notice that I didn't bring it all the way over, so I'm going to hit this. I'm going to wet this a little bit here. Brushstroke matters too. You don't want to have it, try to avoid this sort of back and forth kind of thing. Okay? Just because it tends to be, I don't know, I think it's distracting for the viewer to see that back and forth. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more yellow strategically through here. Yes, I know, I always hum when I'm doing stuff, and I don't mean to, but I'm not even conscious of it. Then I'm going to go back in. I'm just going to dabba here and here. Okay. I'll let that dry, see what happens with that. Okay. Now, I'm going to also put a wash down on the bottom here, and I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll go back into that on the next video. So, this time I'm going to use a sponge, and I'm going to strategically sort of, I'm not going to put an even bathing of water here. I'm just going to sort of put an arbitrary kind of bathing of water. Clean this up here. Okay. Then I'm going to take one of my calligraphy brushes, and I'm going to go in with I think I'm going to go in with my orange for the background here also. Okay, I'm just going to hit it here and there. I'm not going to put it everywhere. I'm just going to let that sort of flow and let that set. Okay.